Now each candidate is going to get 4 minutes to just kind of summarize everything that's been talked about if they just want to give them a platform for their campaign. We are going to start with the way we started the questions with Mike Hadley, followed by Brenda, and then finished with Sean. You have the floor, Mike.
I have 4 minutes, and I'm going to stay seated for this one. I'm sure that's working. Only because I want to refer to some things here, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right. In the introduction, there was the discussion of the word experience. Who's the most experienced? Well, you know, I'm the youngest up here. I'm 42. I'll be 43 on election day. So I can't win that battle. If that's all we're going to look at, I can't compete. I'm the youngest one here. Who's been practicing law the longest? I think I'm in the middle on that one, based on Ms. Servidio's version of her history, and then Mr. White a little longer than me. So again, I'm not here to say I've been doing it the longest. It's what have you done with the 17 years, Mike Hadley, you've been practicing law. And so that's what I want to talk about for a few minutes. And as I said, I'm the only candidate up here who's tried federal criminal cases to a jury. I'm the only candidate up here who serves on the Criminal Justice Act panel for the Western District of Pennsylvania in federal court. And that's important. The reason that's important in regards to the district attorney's race is when you see a prosecution brought by the U.S. Attorney's Office, you see a real prosecution. I mean, that old saying, don't make a federal case out of it, there's a reason they say that. When these guys come at you, it's professional, it's right, it's by the book, it's how a DA's office should be. In a lot of ways, I want to model my office after that. And so, that's an important experience that I have that no one else up here has. I did not, as some of my opponents have done, taken the public defender contract cases, where you get a lot of cases because you're public defender. Almost all of my practice has been private. I've been privately retained to represent people in criminal defense. As to the number of jury trials, I suppose at some point it doesn't really matter how many you've had. It's like, is there really a difference between the major league pitcher who has 300 starts and 350 starts? Either you got it or you don't. I've tried nearly 100 jury trials, many of them week-long trials, front page in the paper, biggest cases in the county. I've tried homicides to verdict and won. I've tried civil cases, ton of criminal cases. Okay, I'm qualified if you look at that. I brought this book with me because this book is called Pennsylvania Practice, Pennsylvania Evidence. It's written by Packle Poulin, and it's basically the Bible of Pennsylvania evidence. Every single judge has this book on their desk. I've never had a jury trial where we haven't had to bust this book out. And the reason I tell you that is because Mike Hadley has been the attorney on several cases which are published in this book. Mike Hadley has the appellate experience to where what I've done has changed the course of Pennsylvania law. That it was important enough for the appellate courts to take the case and write the case down, and then for this Bible of evidence to report on it. And I'm talking about cases like Commonwealth versus Weaver, where we talked about what's admissible for field sobriety tests and in the field. And I'm talking about Commonwealth versus Hoover, where I just got the Superior Court to rule on what's admissible on criminal defendants' character. So my experience, I'm the only guy there, okay? It's not natural for all of us to talk about our credentials and what we're good at or what we're great at. But look at this stuff. Nobody else does that. I've been very fortunate in my practice to have big cases, reported cases, law-changing cases. So I have the experience by education, training, and record of accomplishment to be your district attorney. I'm qualified, fit, and willing and able to serve you. And please, May 21st, elect me district attorney.
Thank you, Mike Hadley. You're more than happy to walk.
Okay, I'm going to.
Okay.
I want to thank everyone for coming and listening to what we had to say tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody who set this up and took the time out, put a lot of work into it. A special thanks to a true friend, Craig Amos, and I also have my daughters here this evening. They had, if you guys could stand, please stand. I have my 13-year-old and 15-year-old here. Just take a second. I'm making them stand because, okay, you can sit back down. Last night we were working on some things that I had put together to hand out this evening, and I was rather short with them, kind of sharp, and there it goes, oops. And they said, you know, what's going on? I said, well, you know, I have to get up there tomorrow night, and I have to discuss things, and people, you know, will make judgments about me and whatnot, and evaluate what I have to say, and perhaps even discuss what I'm wearing or whatnot, and it's kind of stressful. And they said, listen, no matter what happens, you know, we love you. And so I have that going, so I want to just say I love you too, you guys. But experience does count, and we all know that experience counts. And when I talk about experience, for me, it's being a prosecutor. I have prosecuted for 11 years. I have prosecuted in both Venango County as well as Bradford County. I am currently an assistant district attorney here in Venango County. On the other hand, my opponents here that are opposite me and have been for a number of years, so I see them in court, Mr. White more than Mr. Hadley, but quite frequently, and on the opposite side of the fence. And I guess when you work in a certain area for a long period of time, you develop a particular mindset. My mindset is that of a prosecutor. Judge White, one time I was in court in front of Judge White, and there was a defense lawyer there, and he was complaining about the prosecution. And somebody's probably, you know, I was prosecuting his client, and he was complaining about it. Having to, you know, my poor client, you know, he's got these expenses, and it also has issues with, you know, there's different issues that they always claim. And when I was sitting there thinking about what he was saying, it occurred to me as a prosecutor, I'm thinking, well, what about the victim? What about, you know, people in our community? What about safety and security? And he was complaining about his client. And what I mean by a particular mindset is, when I was thinking about these things, and he's saying to the judge about these other things, we have a different mindset. There's defense lawyer mindset, there's prosecutor mindset. Judge White says to him, the defense lawyer, well, you know that in theory, you should be able to switch roles. I started shaking my head because I could never be a defense lawyer, and he's shaking his head, no, that's never going to happen, because we have a different mindset. It's not just, though, experience that's important when you consider the candidates here today. You also have to take a look at character. There's a wise man who said, we ask that we not judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So character is important. About last Wednesday, I'd say, somebody said to me, it's not important what a person's background is, their experience, their character. It's what they're saying they're going to do from now on out. And that justifies common sense. I think all of you here probably have some common sense. And I think that with our own experiences that we have in life, that is completely opposite of what is true. I say that because we use that in every day of our life. We use that to make decisions about, for example, a babysitter. We judge a person by their experience, by their character. In this election, this is about, on May 21st, when you vote, you are committing to 4 years. That's your commitment. It's a big commitment here. And I ask you to give that a thought, to stand firm with me, to plant your feet in the right place, and to vote for peace, dignity, and justice. Vote for Brenda Servideo for District Attorney. Thank you.
Okay, I now have 4 minutes to persuade you that I'm the guy for the job. I'm going to use all 4 minutes too. 3 people on this table right now are trying to get on the Republican ticket to be the next district attorney. One of the persons at that table has never prosecuted a case to the jury in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania during his whole career, yet he wants the job. The other person has never defended anybody in her whole career in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She says she's the prosecutor for the job, but she's always been an assistant. Does she know how to manage people? I've been around now, I'm entering my 27th year. I've managed an office, employees, a budget. I've never written a bad check. I know where the courthouse is. I know who the people are in the courthouse. I know who the judges are. I know what they think, what they do, how they act, and how I should act when I'm there. I have a high standard of professionalism when I walk into the courtroom. There's no reason to lie to a judge or an officer of the court, and that, with great pride and honor, I say that. And that's why I want this job. It's a very important job. Venango County needs somebody with the experience to be able to handle that job. September of last year, Marie Villon was running into a little trouble with her caseload. Mr. Carbone was gone. She needed somebody to come in and handle some cases. She called me. I have been a defense attorney, I have been a prosecutor, and I have the experience where all I had to do was shuffle my schedule and pick up a file, and I knew how to prosecute the case. I took a look at it, and in about 2 minutes, understood what the defense was going to be, who the witnesses were going to come at us with, what the elements were, what I need to show to the jury. It's not a hard thing to do. You can switch hats at any point. You just have to have the experience to know how to do it, what your job is, what due process requires, how to get the job done. I have all of those elements. I told you in my opening, nobody has more years of experience than I do. Nobody's done more jury trials than I have. They've tried to distinguish themselves somewhat, but the proof of the matter is nobody's tried more cases to a jury than I have. And if you're looking for a litigator, if you're looking for somebody to carry you into the future and make sure you're protected, I think you want somebody in the courtroom that knows how to do and say the things necessary to get it done. That's what I can do. Being on both sides of the ball, I can tell you very quickly what the prosecution needs, what the defense is going to do, what witnesses and evidence we're going to need, whether or not the charge should even go to court. Maybe we should be doing something else with this defendant. Maybe it's not the right case to take in front of 12 people. Maybe you ought to just do a non-jury trial. I'll be able to handle all of those things, as well as streamline, handle, and manage the employees, and make sure that we cut costs, cut the fat, prosecute, protect, and make sure that the job gets done. That's what separates me from the others. That's why I'm asking you on May 21st on the Republican ticket to vote my name, Sean White, in there. And I think all you have to do is ask, what's the reputation amongst the attorneys with law enforcement? That's who we're going to be working most closely with. Ask any law enforcement member what they think needs to do, or what that person needs to do for the job. Go ahead and ask. There's a lot of them out there. Anytime I believe you're going to say I have a good relationship with law enforcement because I've treated them as professionals, I've taken away that personal element out of every case. And no matter if I was questioning them, I still understood they were doing a job. I will too.